Sony actually made it official today. They made some big news, some big announcements. Again, this is really interesting stuff because usually, like the end of the week, you don't see as much news come out. But hey, Sony is never one to kind of stick to trends or anything like that. So they came out and announced this today. And listen, this is probably a big move for them, and a lot of people are excited. I remember when I first heard this news, I was like, holy cow, Sony is going to win the day. You know, this is really a FU to Microsoft, you know. But the more you look into it, the more you kind of just realize it's not really the big screw you that you originally thought it was. You know, not saying that what Sony's doing here isn't something that's going to be looked at as something big or cool or anything like that, but just saying that, you know, it's one of those things where you spend all that money, and the same thing happens with Microsoft, right? You buy a company and you expect exclusive content, right? And now with Bungie specifically, that would have been a big screw you to Microsoft had they achieved some kind of exclusivity, some kind of exclusive game. But the fact of the matter is, there's not going to be any ever. They're going to continue to make games across everything. They're not even going to give Sony timed content. So yeah, that's pretty interesting to say the least. And a lot of people were worried about this deal going through. Apparently the FCC the FTC were actually investigating it. Now we know that, you know, not really much of an issue there. But I think that bodes well for what Microsoft is doing as well, because if you think about it, Microsoft, which is not even close to being the first place company in video games, buying this big Activision Blizzard type situation where Sony is number one and they're able to buy Bungie for billions and billions of dollars. So yeah, I find this to be fantastic news. You know, we're going to be able to see, hopefully, what this company is made of. They're going to be able to do some stuff outside of Destiny. Listen, I loved Bungie when they were doing Halo. I tried Destiny, and I tried Destiny 2, and those games just stink. They're not for me. You know, I wish that I could get into those type of games, but I just can't. Playing the same thing over and over and over again, just not really my bag. You know, but I do wish them luck. I think it's interesting. Sony obviously has an idea to correlate Bungie's purchase with games as a service and teach them how to run games as a service, and maybe they could do that and do a really good job with that. I guess, you know, time is going to tell. But yeah, this is cool stuff actually gone through today. They also made a couple other announcements regarding this, and I wanted to get into that as well. But this is, you know, congratulations to Sony. You guys did it. You guys locked down. This is another studio. I think they did what Haven officially went through last week, and now Bungie officially goes through this week. So yeah, interesting stuff. I want to get into it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The gaming landscape continually changes, and we're starting to see more consolidation than ever, so it was only a matter of time before this Bungie deal officially went through, despite what the FTC was kind of talking about. Now the Bungie deal is officially complete, according to Sony themselves. Now, today Sony announced that the Bungie deal has officially been completed, thus welcoming the game developer headquarters in Bellevue, Washington to the PlayStation family. That likely means the FTC closed their probe into the deal without any objections. Sony first unveiled its plans to acquire Bungie for $3.6 billion on January 31st of this year, and we learned immediately that the studio would be a so-called independent subsidiary. So obviously its games are going to remain multi-platform. Reactions to the news were wildly different at the time, whereas people like Michael Pachter, for example, said without qualms that Sony had vastly overpaid for Bungie. And, you know, listen, if you go back to kind of what was said before, you know, it's very interesting because I always thought, you know, Microsoft could have bought Bungie at any time. But the fact of the matter is, I think the big sticking point for Microsoft was they weren't allowed to have exclusive content or exclusive games. So, you know, what's really the point? I mean, yeah, you're going to make some money from that, but you're also trying to fund and get Game Pass up and going. So pretty weird to say the least. Bungie went for $4 million per developer, and most deals are between $250,000 and $1 million. I've seen deals close, you know, as high as $2 million per developer. So this is crazy talk. This is what Pachter's saying. Just to compare and contrast, EA bought Respawn about 3 or 4 years ago for $700 million with 400 developers, and those guys generate $700 million in a year in revenue. Bungie does about $200 million a year in revenue. So I think Sony vastly overpaid. I think this was a statement that we're not going to let Microsoft get ahead of us, so we'll just buy something out of desperation. It's not really a deal that makes a whole lot lot of sense to me. Now, the announcement happened shortly after Microsoft unveiled its massive $70 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard. Analysts were comparing the two, with DFC Intelligence citing the large difference between the two of them, and basically kind of spoke to the muscle that Microsoft has compared to Sony. While Sony and Nintendo are giants in video games, they are relatively small when compared with the likes of Microsoft, Google, or Amazon. Sony has announced its intention to buy game developer Bungie for $3.6 billion. Bungie is a well-established company, but they basically have one game franchise, Destiny. It is a sign that the price of game publishers is huge. Sony simply cannot afford to compete in M&A. On the other hand, speaking to media research, another person, Carol Severin, explained how both companies could find the deal very lucrative. PlayStation is going after live services, which Bungie has a lot of expertise in. Sony has to go after live service more aggressively than ever before. Given the traction in the gaming space and the model being increasingly offered up to and adopted by consumers, the multi-platform decision will be in a similar tune. Multi-platform is becoming table stakes, so it's right for Sony to pursue in order to minimize competitive pressures from others and maximize revenue potential. As I said many times in the past though, Xbox's future is cross-platform. PlayStation's future is cross-entertainment. PlayStation is following a market in terms of cross-platform, but it can lead in terms of drawing synergies for gaming across entertainment and video, music, sports, and social in particular. Lastly, despite Destiny 2 being a key current title at the moment, Bungie is of course no one-hit wonder. It stood behind the creation of Halo, and even though it no longer owns it, it does count towards its track record of producing hits with longevity. If Bungie can continue this success in the future, help Sony grow live service communities, and contribute to activating Sony's cross-entertainment potential, the deal could prove to be very lucrative for both sides. Indeed, Sony Chairman President Mr. Yoshida recently highlighted what Bungie can bring to the PlayStation family. He said, "In the game space, our efforts center on Bungie, the acquisition of which we agreed to this year. Bungie's strength is in live services. Rather than having creators produce a game by themselves, they learn from user feedback to continuously evolve the story and realize an endless game world, subject to the completion of the acquisition. We would like to learn more about live services from Bungie, and we plan to launch more than 10 live service games from PlayStation Studios by the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. Our acquisition of Bungie also represents a major step forward in becoming more multi-platform." For its part, Bungie is aiming to take advantage of Sony's cross-media expertise to bring its original IPs to cinema and TV. There's no word yet on a Destiny adaptation, but probably won't be long before we actually see something like this. The developer is also working on new projects financed 4 years ago by NetEase with a $100 million investment. Moreover, a rumor floated around last week that they've been working on an unannounced mobile game for NetEase as well, though it's unclear whether it would be based on the Destiny IP or something completely different. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that case, but interesting that this has gone through. Now this is the second studio that's gone through in a matter of a week for Sony, so that's really good news. What do you guys think about this? I mean, do you guys think this is a slap in the face to Microsoft? Are you guys, loving this news? What do you guys think? Don't care? Let me know. If you guys do enjoy my content, please leave a like on the video. It helps it to be seen and the channel to grow. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thank you so much for watching. Crap Gamer out.